Yes, I am. Am I the host? I do believe so. Okay.
Hopefully, everything goes all right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Danny. All right. Bye-bye. Oh my goodness. Okay, I don't know how to turn that off. Hey, Ron.
Hey, Nita, how you doing?
Ah, ah, that's how I'm doing. We couldn't get I couldn't get logged in, so I had to call Danny and get her to do it. But how are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
It's good to see you.
Huh?
It's good to see you.
It's nice to see you also.
And thank you for being our featured reader. It's a self-interested thing. It's really just me wanting to see you and to hear your work. Um,
And
but
I didn't even. I just looked up yesterday and was on the KSPS page and saw I was reading. I was like, oh,
oh,
I'm doing a reading tomorrow.
that is it. Well, I found out I was hosting in a similar way. So I opened my email and I was like, okay, doing it. But thank you for still agreeing to do it.
Of course. I just thought the error was mine. I kept going through emails. I have the correspondence from you and Danny for the later event on the 28th.
uh-huh.
But I didn't. I couldn't find the text or anything about today, and I'm like, I must have told somebody I would do it. I just didn't have a confirmation anywhere. So
That you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say that's on me. I'm sorry.
okay, I didn't know maybe if it was something that Wayne State had set up behind, without telling me. Because I know they've done some things, but they typically let me know when I'm scheduled for something. So I don't know, but I'm not holding anybody to blame or anything. I just was caught unaware. Just I'm happy to do it. I just didn't have any correspondence about it.
Got you. I'm sorry again. That's on me.
Yeah, okay, it's okay. You're my favorite person. Don't worry about it. I need to apologize because one, I can't find my glasses, so I might struggle with some of the words, and I've had a little bit of stomach issues for a couple of days. So if my screen goes black and I go mute for a minute,
I
just
respect
assume I'll
it.
be back in a little while. Just give me a few minutes, but
Okay, okay.
I think I'll be okay. So, but yeah, I'm just throwing it out there just as a warning.
Got you. I'm pulling your bio from what website is this? Connotation Press. Um,
No, please not.
no. Okay. Yeah,
I don't know if my website is still up and running. It's supposed to be.
let me try.
Um,
Oh, okay, okay. Um,
and bio will be uh,
it's
under shoveling some dirt, I believe. Yeah, I guess that'll. Well, you don't have to read all that. A lot of that's just filler. But as long as you just talk about, I guess, this book and whatever you feel like, A for Appalachia with Frank and
let
that's enough. I mean, whatever looks good in that bio. It's not probably not a professional bio.
uh I don't care about professionals, but I'm trying I can't you said show me. I know your name was Up from Some Dirt, but where did you say that bio was? Because
If
connotation.
you hit the two menu buttons, there's Home and House and Field Negro Digest.
Uh-huh.
There's a drop down menu under Home,
Uh-huh. Ah, look at that.
and
Look at that.
Shoveling Some Dirt is my bio page.
Got you. Okay. Thank you for your patience. I'm gonna take a deep breath. You
I am
ready?
too.
Huh?
I'm gonna take a deep breath too. So
Okay.
I'm about to go blind. Crystal's out of town. She had to drive to North Carolina today, so I think
Really?
she's gonna log in at some point. But she'd be mad because I'm a vampire, so the house ain't never this bright. I'm like, oh my God, this all this light, but I need the light to read, so damn it.
All right. I'm probably just gonna read straight from your bio on the page because I am bad at being on the spot. But
Me too.
it and look at us.
I know. For one, I absolutely I'm a poet who hates reading his work out. So I try to hide that as best I can. I like my work to be read by others. I'm not a performance, or I'm not even a good reader. So
I,
I stumble through readings, and then everybody's like, "Oh, yeah, good job," and I'm like, "Whoa, shit, okay."
well, I disagree, and I look forward to your reading. I read however long you want to. I think she said like 25 minutes, but I feel like we should just do what our spirit is feeling. And then
Okay.
I'll ask a couple questions and open it up to the audience. I'm gonna mute and turn my camera off while you're reading, so the
Okay.
attention is on you. But do that's it. That's all. I'm gonna let people in.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good evening.
In progress.
Thank y'all for joining our featured reading for the month of October. In case you're wondering, this is the Kentucky State Poetry Society. You are in the right place. And for anyone who just joined, please be sure to mute your mic so that we cannot hear you in the background while our poet reads. I have the privilege and the honor of introducing tonight's poet. I'm going to call you Mr. Ron one time just so I can get it out of my system because I know that annoys you. But Ron Davis, aka Up From Some Dirt, is joining us and reading from his latest poetry collection. And I'm going to read his bio really quickly before we get started. From Some Dirt, formerly of Louisville, is a writer and artist residing in Lexington, Kentucky, with his partner, the acclaimed novelist and Crystal Wilkinson. And there are way too many books for their very tiny house. An autodidactic Brother Dirt is an award-winning artist whose work has galleried in Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, and Tennessee. Although that exhibition was in a dive bar, but fuck it, it counts. Lately, his works have graced more book covers than walls, having created covers for Crystal Wilkinson's Ernest J. Gaines award-winning novel, The Birds of Opulence, her short story collections, Blackberries, Batberries, and Water Street, and her NAACP award-winning poetry collection, Perfect Black, as well as providing interior artwork for that collection. Most recently, he has collaborated with Appalachian poet Frank S. Walker, providing the artwork for the cover and interior of their picture book, A is for Appalachia. Dirt has also operated unofficially as the in-house cover artist for Workhorse Publications since 2017, along with also providing cover art for Ricardo Nasiato y Colon, Makalani Bandali, and Bernard Clay, Keith Gilliard, Jude McPherson, African American Review, Title Basin Review, and many others. In addition, Brother Dirt was also a 2010 Kentucky Al Smith Award winner for visual art. In literature, Some Dirt is the author of the genre fluid art and literature book Call and Response, the chapbooks Tangerine Tubman, Chiaroscuro Vitae, and The Time Unraveler's Travel Journey. Dirt's full-length collections, affectionately and perhaps infamously referred to as the Rainbow Excrement Trilogy, include Deifying a Total Darkness, To Emmett Till, and The Second Stop is Jupiter, which is the collection they'll be reading from this evening. In 2022, Up From Some Dirt was inducted into the renowned collective of writers, the Appalachian Poets. I'm honored to be a part of his cohort. Please welcome Up From Some Dirt for today's poetry reading. Thank you for joining us.
Thank KSPS for having me. This is always an honor and a pleasure to present my work to my peers, or the people I wish I was peers to. So many magnificent poets in Kentucky have affiliations and roots here. I'm just trying to add what little bit I can to that gallery of writers. Can anyone hear me all right? I didn't ask. Fine, okay. I'm probably going to read a couple poems from the previous two books before getting into the new collection, if that's okay. So it was funny. I was talking to Larry Moore a few weeks ago, at a reading, and I was telling people how I had sent him like 800 pages of poems like 8 years ago when he asked if I had anything from the publishing. And I don't know, that's just so, it's something I would do, but you can't send any publisher 800 pages of work and just expect them to, what are you thinking, So I'm really grateful for everyone who has supported me, publishing wise, just patrons, everyone from beginning with Denise Durant, who published my first small collection, Larry Moore, of course, and Michael Sharp, who published my first full length, Deifying the Total Darkness, which I'm going to read a couple of poems from now. And all of these works were pretty much culled from that huge manuscript that I sent to Larry. That's why I kind of consider it a trilogy. There were almost all, for the most part, up until the new collection. There are new poems in the new collection. But for the most part, the first two books especially all came from that same raw material of work. And the first poem from Deifying a Total Darkness. Here the earth giant lays his gentle head. The goal to be more than a translator of mud, for you, not for you. This phantom as poem, the poem as permutation, my head under the guillotine of too many syllables until decapitation. My disquisition without restraints or quarantine, the goal to be immortal until I'm good and dead, the golden made pure until obsidian, the enshrinement of tongue until all song is emancipated. Please stop with your praise for inertia. I will no longer enshrine paralysis with you. My lips are not lazy. I'm just disinclined movement by your sermon. The sleek automaton of your stanzas worshiping the occitan. Well, the fool you taught of me, gilding cherished marble with spit and spirit that whittled preferred light from precious night, exchanging birthright and dowry for academic exposition. My vernaculars annotated, my footprint turned the footnote, the asterisk American. My goal to not be you, My goal is to live forever beyond, for eons and atoms and anatomy to age out. For even in night, I cast a shadow, your entire body would have to dilate to see. And I'm going to apologize if I stumble over words more than normal. I think Crystal, she's out of town. I think she took my glasses with her. I'm going to blame her, whether she did or not. That's what we do in this household. Something comes up missing, and it's automatically the other person's fault. I guess coming up, I wanted to be like a revolutionary. I wanted to, or anarchist, tear everything down that was against my people, against the liberties that we felt were denied to us as citizens here. So, my poems are almost all some type of tribute to this revolutionary aspect, this failed revolutionary aspect of myself in my youth. And I guess I've grown through that somewhat. There have been times where I've considered myself a romantic poet because I have split personalities for the most part. Each one, I have at least 4. I have not clinically diagnosed or anything, but they're more of my moods, and each of my moods are strong, and they each have opinions, and they have different perspectives that differ from the other. So there's parts of me that's this revolutionary guy. There's parts of me that's a romantic. There's parts of me that's just a fool, and there's parts of me that's a historian. Just wants to talk about the issue of facts. So they all come together, and they have voice in my poems. Each poem is basically me, or different aspects of me talking to each other. So, we're always told to write what you know. I know my voice is pretty well in my head. So we all have communication with each other. So you might hear a little bit of everything in my poems. You'll hear some revolutionary talk, something anarchist, maybe something a bit romantic, or the longing for romanticism. But sometimes I'm surreal and Afrofuturist at times. So some things may not make any sense at all, but perhaps if you read the words on paper, which is my preference. I'm horrible as a speaker, representative of my own work. I like for my works to stand on their own and present themselves, and I think that's more enjoyable. I think people miss out because I have a lot of wordplay oftentimes in my work, and I think people miss out by not being able to read my work while I'm reading. I guess that's the goal for every writer, to be read. So you can only get my first book through me, through my Gumroad page. The second book, To Emit Till, I think Larry has some still at Broadstone. And then, of course, my third one with Wayne State University Press. You can order it through them. And there's poems, second poem from To Your Final Total Darkness, Bus Fare for a Valkyrie, which is probably one of my angrier poems in this collection. Question: where are the brazen poems lashing apocryphal authorities with fire and countermeasures to police brutality? The lit fuse in physical flight as metaphor for a swinging, breathing, driving, singing, ruses and muses. A sundressed child, black and tan, handcuffed to a carousel, quietly smiles, face down, at a colony of ants dismantling cookies into a cosmos of crumbs. The armored cop above her takes a knee to her back, taking selfies with rip-roaring laughter, while a volley of spectators look on YouTube's benign gorilla low. I've known poems to vibrate like the glass plate of a CVS, but never go viral enough to checkmate white supremacy or assembly an assembly of SWAT teams into final submission. There are no poems burning literal hell through a Kevlar vest like snipers for a black mass and self-sentience. Never has a poem been written that kills its enemy, for I have tried and failed. Free verse like drone strikes in service of the disenfranchised. And even when writing of pink unicorns and utopian gardens of mint, my quivers are concussed. A schizophrenic sun foams over the earth, and the stars pull out their hair, screaming until hoarse into the night. An apoplectic moon hoards its fullness and never surrenders its wing to the sea. Our civil suppositions were written in the shadows of a lynching. This plague of democracy, a puzzle where Holocaust performs the diligent due diligence, monopolizing all conjectures on race. So how do I justify the progeny in my simple trove of poems? Huzzah, discordant verse as balm for the rope burns around your neck. This inheritance of long, jarring prose, overworked sonnets to a disemboweled lover. This recherche for revenge, a pate of Pegasus. Children abandoned by civility, please come forward and have your fill. Muses and ruses. How does the code-switching poet decry existential nihilism without jeopardizing a genius grant? Answer, from the skull of the anglerfish, Etoliot from Edacious hunger, the head of the pink unicorn dangles like bait. This poem is from my second collection to emit teal. Field Song for Nancy's All-Seeing Eye Agency. I need to bring this one close to my face a little bit. Ooh, growing old is not kind. We are pocket protectors for Father Todd, a progeny of pith and phantasms. We radiate from middle iris, ocular terrestrials, Octavia division. Wayne Shorter is our sheriff. Our ranks swell with bookkeepers and beekeepers, jockeys, psychosomatic surgeons, cutthroats, and seasoned translators of the sky. Liars in collusion to set the record straight setters class of 1985. Our strength is in our license. Cartographers for non-chartered countercultures. We are field agents for third world from the sun. So it's okay for you to answer me. Did you get a good look at the upright bass that hit you? Was the perpetrator a quartet? Was a flugelhorn involved? We speak in poems of swift calculus, and we all flash badges. We bear saxophones in our hoisters and carry hearts on our sleeves. Yes, our shared perspective is a household brand. You can trust us with the tip of your tongue, the cyst in your eye, the thorn in your paw. And that poem draws references from everything. I'm kind of like, I've always considered myself like the DOS effects of poets, drawing on everything imaginable, from jazz to old cartoons to thesauruses to the speeches of Malcolm X. There's probably references to a little bit of everything in the lines of my work. Hopefully somebody out there one day will, get their PhD and, dissecting my work. That would be awesome. Exhibit C, Bruce, the vegetarian shark, is America denying itself its racism. Public enema #1. Black people are Marley. The clownfish always felt to perform with no rhyme, no time for your shit. Their families devoured, from homes invaded, but always on stage and laughing without choice, with the children of their children, killers after, with the children of their children's killers after Holocaust. We all know Dory, humanist, a dear friend, very literate and long-winded for the perfections of liberalism. Short of memory, but happy with life and always sorrow for your people's plight. She hugs and she cries, she forgives and buys you a latte. But what entitlement, eaten by a whale, a whole motherfucking whale, yet all the while trusting in the favorable outcome. And I love that, just the whole thought of, watching Finding Nemo, being able to find something revolutionary in that. To have the trust to go into the mouth of a whale and just be like, oh, well, things will work out for us. And, something that I've never had the luxury of in my life, or, my children have seldom had that luxury, just to be able to rush headlong into something, half-assed and have it, work out in their favor. That typically doesn't work for us. I just saw the day that a gentleman who had been wrongly convicted in jail for 16 years, got out and was recently killed in a traffic stop by police. And, of course, the gentleman is Black, and it's just it's a rough thing, out here to be the targets of, a system that doesn't quite see you as equal, even though you grow up, with the same imagination, the same hopes and dreams of everyone else, especially as Americans. We're all exposed to the same materials for the most part growing up, and it's not until we become preteens that those differences begin to, rear their heads to us. And, it becomes evident that, we're not all equal, in this land. And, we're not all treated, the same. And, and it's a hard thing, to have to endure this type of, this knowledge, because we live with this every day, that, we haven't quite reached equality, still have liberties denied to us. And we carry this every day, we live with this. And so, years ago, they used to always talk about how, Black poets are always angry, always talking about race, always, our Black women get the same knock, angry Black women. And it's not that we're angry, we just want to be heard. So, we raise our voice a little bit. Our voices, may be an octave deeper than, other people, and it just sounds different. It's not what a lot of people grew up listening to. So we just want to be heard. We just We want to be recognized as equal citizens. You know, we deserve the same liberties as everyone else. And, you know, for anyone to say no to that, you know, what were you raised on? Why? So I think that's a good segue into, you know, my new book, The Second Stop is Jupiter. The first poem opens with pretty much the same premise of, you know, equality and perceptions of race and reality in America. The hero with an African face. Chapter 1. In the basin of the helmet, the black astronaut skull grows a garden. As a child, I slayed the dragon, dashed through all the flames to kill the witch, ending a curse, freeing the village. As a child, I saved every damsel, dairymaid or royal, was gifted keepsakes by their kings, every possession kindly offered. Their coins, their crowns, their daughters pledged their hands to me, their champion knight. And in every narrative, I deeply knelt. I ousted aliens as a child, riding comets bareback through cosmic alleys, the only astronaut who could, until dangers were thwarted. And for such theatrics, the earth thickened with ticker tape beneath my feet, making moonscapes of Main Street. And at command to my side fluttered a throng of starlets, gifting keys to the city. We cruised Broadway in glass carriages and ragtop caddies, from downtown to the park, past cheering throngs and their cameras. Reporters ran through their mirrors, raising inquisitive hands as I recounted each deed, the sun soft and slipshod above my shoulders. The Venusians thought weeds of us, but we resist annihilation. What fine regalia our inalienable black joy. But in real life, I was a small, tender child, a sweet black child with gerrymandered precocity, not free to be the exemplar, just another black agitator. My soul, whatever that was, molded into shape by commodifying media and its monopolizing imagination. I was told my kind had the most of it, this soul, that I should face it, that I should take this once in a lifetime adulation and nurture it on gridirons and hardwoods sponsored by Wilson and Adidas. But in real life, the black soul is just a construct of white guilt. For I was born not a soul, but a living body. Chapter 2, my heart is centripetal, not centripetal. Melanin in abundance or its lack, weaponized into political meaning. This pollution of some so-called empowerment as foundation for my existence. This plantation for black activism, where non-compliance is grown for white academy and its capitalism, where the theater of diversion is sold as the progressive stance. Whiteness with its tactical paternalism, the idol worshiping of idle hands, branded as patriotism for all black people, an arboresque made of empathy and their periodic table of black mythical seamen and the mythical black hymen. Just seasoning and athleticism and crooning, all conflated as black natural spirit. Chapter 3. In 2021, the launch probe circles the sun to measure its breath, to touch its hem. But what we thrum isn't a drum roll for the spiritual. It's only us, fed up and sad as fuck at what you've done or didn't. My salt lick of language as kryptonite, the round ass of my history defying assumptions of gravity. My lungs at maximum capacity of sadness isn't the echelon of soul. It's just the edification of oppression, an unasked for forgiveness that stifles humanity. But I never yearned to hunger you, never hankered yielding to the taut, pale automaton of austere mythology. You see, I've come to euthanize the Hydra. I never had the desire to tame or pet name it, because here, behind every grain of gold, there be monsters. Chapter 4, for much of its orbit, Pluto is closer to the sun than Neptune. Like every good child, I'm only here to kill the dragons. But will they perceive any odd soul to sing that song? I, the beautiful bard, not your soul singing chattel. I will not let you harden my heart as pardon for your guilt. Black skin is no physical disfigurement, nor is it the iconographic emblem for painful endurances. Not like your renditions of me in my clean black hoodie, beneath which I am always the hero, have always been. Abstract Africana. Dark poems wobble on axis, wander into next orbit. New worlds purge eclipse, preparing for launch. Ready to make empire of horizon, all systems aglow. Igun, we have liftoff. But what is a maiden voyage to a stolen people? Last night I tore off my head and from its sable pelt poured 1,000 poems. A beautiful discolored dialogue with its pages singed, my forehead ripped from its hinges. My inner voice is spinning in outer spaces like a million cosmic lampposts, signaling the Legba's ancient analog. Every hair of my disconnected head its own cathedral, coiling into God's unkept lighthouse. The oscillation of the black bucolics, a southern filter with a touch of botulism. Came this compost of neck bones, an ancient beacon, a concordance of insight, mapping tongue where inner light softly refrained, a strobing into promise, a sloping away from silence. The cognitive concurrency of the soul and summit, my severed head serving as halfway house for broken history, becoming the globe around which my gungun safely swooned, looking to mold gild moons of their own, for poems within themselves, a home away from home, where life and language are tethered as one, where mouth and this very moment are infinite, conjoined. From the black hole of a headless body, the booster rockets are falling away, and I'm sure I'm hearing roosters. Can you not hear them? I hear them, each and every one. So my three collections, they're kind of the first collection is kind of Deifying of Total Darkness. It's kind of like my more surreal work was in that collection. To Till probably contains more of my political leanings, social commentary. This third collection is more Afrofuturist, mythology, fabulous. But you'll find elements of all three because all the poems kind of talk to each other in some aspect. Like I said, my many moods inside are always in some type of dialogue. I get lost in my head very easy. When all is ready, I throw this switch. I'm what they call a galologist, means one who adds pretense to parable. Sentence structure is my baton, twirling iams and tossing vintage wisdoms high into the air. Caught like a wish behind the altar of head with a profuse tongue. I snatch science from the nonplus like a dead language, but I don't rely on hope. I'm a supplicant surgeon, and there's no mendicancy to this mysticism. I don't deal in lack of faith or lack in skill. I'm dope shit for real, player, believe that. My portfolio, a new age mojo bag, a kind of juju synthesis. And the headline on my nation sack says, born under bad moon by profession. The apothecary of my lips, blue and green. Contract is void if seal is broken. My sinuous slang slays a bull. Each poem pulls in a puddle of blood, a coagulated colloquialism where breath is facsimile for afterbirth. There are calories in my excrement. My physical word, all oxtails and onyx. and there's infinity, if not indincra, in my bottom line. Poet writs a white collar, is a blue collared worker, is a black hollerer, a barking hyacinth. And because my butterflies are prone to bite, my fabulism warrants a fine print. Caution, black poet conjures on a closed course. Please don't try this shit at home. And that was an iffy poem to read. It's easy because without my glasses, the print starts off huge as hell, and then it just dwindles down until it's like 10-point or 8-point type. So it got dicey there at the end. Luckily, I remember that from one of the few lines I remember from my memory, just to be able like, oh yeah, poet conjures on the closed course. I know that line. If someone wants to send me a pair of readers, I'd be happy. Of course, I guess tonight I won't do any good. But I don't know how I read that one. How are we doing on time?
Got about 5 more minutes and then we'll do our Q&A. So
Q&A.
any more poems you feel like doing? I'm here for it. I could be here all night.
Let's see. I think I'm going to read, this collection is broken down into 3 sections. The first section is just kind of, it's called I Don't Know Who Needs to Hear This, and it's just a collection of the poems that speculative for the most part. They don't necessarily share a common perspective. Like I'm not always, as the writer, I'm not always the focal point. It's not always first person. Just a storyteller, narrative poems. The second section, The Girl with the Frantz Fanon Tattoo. These poems I think there's 36 poems in this suite of poems. They all begin with, or all include Frere Gabreau in the title. There's the Annunciation of Frere Gabreau in the Long Time Coming, Frere Gabreau in the Land of Ill Iffy, all designed to, in my mind, kind of mimic some of the fairy tales, English fairy tales, or the German fairy tales by the Grimm brothers. They always have these, the Princess and the Pea or some type of, narrative. Frere Gabreau, she is my version of, Cinderella or Snow White. A Gabreau is a type of igneous rock, a lava rock, or sometimes a certain type of cloud formation. It has a very, rough surface to it. So I have my heroine, she's very, dark skinned. She appears throughout this part of the collection, from a child to an older woman to in the past, in the future. She's just everywhere. She's, she carries my fairy tales throughout this part of the book. And, I'm a romanticist, and I'm mad because, Black folks weren't allowed to control language, in the 19th century, 18th, 17th, 18th, 19th century, like we are now. But white folks gobbled up all the good words. So you have words like fair, which come to mean, pale skin and white for the most part. But I'm like, no, fair doesn't necessarily have to indicate that. Why can't a dark-skinned woman just be fair complexion? Why does it have to always, she could be without blemish, just be flawless and be as dark as night. So that's why her name is Frere Gabreau. She's, very dark skinned in all these stories. You may not say that specifically, but that's what she looks like. And she's gorgeous, whether it's a child or older woman. Have I dazzled y'all enough to where while I look for a good poem to read? Farragut Row in the Orchard, after privilege and romanticism. In adjacent droughts, they lays a Wyatt's field, like heifers with attentive palms out for borrowed cud, spread eagle or prim, demure, afloat in ponds, among the fronds, dainty jowls nestled in nightly palms, these wild windrow of a woman, over there with windswept skirts, basking the lawns and allegories of sun, intimately begging for recognition, if not salvation. But we carry our own wheat as rays. And there is so much ocean in our walk that everywhere on earth we settle leaves a softened flora once we're gone. Life gardens in a sable grove, working twice as hard for half the adulation, bearing from our forbidden limbs the most resplendent fruit. The gods of ancient orders dangle romanticisms in our pliant branches, and heaven blooms in these slender boughs, even in our undergrowth.
This is just me, my personal request. Can I have one more poem? And then we can move on to our.
Maybe one more.
Thank you.
This is Farragut Row and the W of Dreams, epistolary. And in it, Farragut Row, she's waking up from sleep. Duffy is Caribbean, like a god of dreams sort of thing, a ghost of dreams, or a ghost, Duffy. So she's waking up and she's talking to the spirits that haunt her. So they're just going back and forth in the poem from her to him. And it's the poem begins in his voice. You're not from around here. Yes, I'm within a dream. I'm within a dream as well. The clouds are calling. The stars refuse sitting still. Perhaps we're within a poem. Then we both are as fawns. Yes, we both are as fawns. Such is true. This love, then, a temple. Our love, yes, a temple. And we are light. And we are darkness with a hydrant of stars, a living coal within the clouds. Come hither, sweet kite of power of hope, and carry us throughout the sky. How proclastic you are in beauty, revealing to us the future. A perpetual hex, our sorrows peeling. This wick of tongue, our alphabets trimmed by solid wax. We break the dam of flaxen language. A signpost ahead, severed limbs forming arrows, this way to the soapstone castle. This dream is both chimerical quest and fade contagion. No, this was always a poem. When were we ever not the syllables for an overlapping song? This long lost syntax of embrace, romancing of resuscitation. To be lost in Langston, if not Ilhelio, if not Farakazad or Osman. So Gwendolyn to the touch, a penny for your thoughts. To be Fungunu-like, black and Nguyen as ever, graceful and comely like Alice in the Bush of Ghosts, paying tithe to the vassal of bones, down the hound hole with our mad, tenacious chatter, a Cheshire Hines. Check the rhyme of ancient Marie Evans, drunk in the privileges forbidden the spiritual osmosis of privilege. With our oaths munificent to gossamer and melanin. Yes, we too can privatize a lyric, a prize or a P. No capricious lore of ochres we are to travel at us. No facetious fable, a lore that travels within us, perhaps even through, proof we're not trapped by dreams and the industrialization of hope. Joy lingers beneath the rib, unfolds into provincial laughter, the pollen of light. We must indeed be floral. Who said we lack nectar to our veins? With fairy tales barren and fatheral. But which came first, the quickening or the powder keg? We are as one, a bouquet of poems, each pour a village of children, vessels of blood branching through the nimbus within. This is how we raise with voice, apotheosis to the breast of Anyame. And yet they keep asking Occam of us, how parsimonious. Their philosophies on skin, a speculative slogan, with embroidered stats, a congressional claptrap, reciting history with dehydrated jargon. But there is no desiccation to praise Gabro. Drought has no wings for the likes of us. We skim the core of nascent earth, unsnared by the nets of Ogun Valley. Anakalopo, our slang is incessant. Gitchy, gitchy, ya, ya, da, da. Expositions free of enunciation, enucleation. You are a poet. We are architects. We scaffold the sun to drift asleep in her great and dumbrel bosom to awaken as dawn over a soft republic in the stadiums of Commonwealth, tears upon tears. You are from here. We never left, not once. You closed your eyes and found the dark. I found an echo or some enunciation, a duende deep within. And when I open my eyes to augur the more, I catch my breath and we double down. And forgive me for stumbling over that. I read that as best I could with my eyes watering up. And
no forgiveness needed. Thank you so much. All right, everybody take a deep breath because I need that. If you look through the chat, it's just all these different lines that you have that are breathtaking the entire time. If anyone would like to read more about Up From Some Dirt and Up From Some Dirt's poetry, there is a link in the chat. I'm going to paste it again here. And you can follow the links on the website to purchase The Second Stop is Jupiter, as well as other poetry collections. I have a few questions, and then I'm going to open it up to the audience. So if you do have any questions, please add them to the chat, and I will go through and field those questions as well. So my first question, can I have your autograph? I'm coming to Kentucky. I'm actually this weekend, my partner and I are driving to Kentucky, so I'm actually very serious. I will skirt to you and Crystal's house and get your autograph.
all right, of course.
Yes. Okay. I just needed that verbal yes. My second question: which voice or perspective is the most dominant in The Second Stop is Jupiter, if any, or are they all equally dominant?
I think probably the sense is, even within the speculative, I think there's a sense of the romantic beneath most of the poem, especially for the middle chapter. Even the last chapter, which is the Underground Rubaiyat, which is one single poem, my Tangerine Tubman poem, about a love affair between one of Harriet Tubman's charges as she's escorting him toward freedom. They engage in an affair. She probably would never do it. She was a good, upstanding Christian woman. But you know, I think she was married a couple of times. She did believe in love. So I do take liberties with her. I hope she forgives me. If anything is out of character. But I think the sense of romance, I think with the modern movements, I used to consider myself a feminist until some feminists online attacked me because I made a post about how the porn industry takes advantage of the female body, how men in the industry have do what men do best, and you know, and take advantage, you know, for their own profit or their own desires or whatever it is. I wasn't attacking the women or anything, but a group of feminists, burlesque dancers attacked me for attacking the field that they consider burlesque a part of that industry. I'm like, I'm not attacking women. I'm not attacking the workers in it. I'm just talking about the power dynamic, how men have traditionally used the porn industry to, you know, at the expense of women involved oftentimes. So I stopped calling myself a feminist after that, because feminism branches everywhere and there's so many different. I just consider myself, I just want matriarchy. I want all out matriarchy. I want women to rule everything. I don't care about that old argument of, you know, some women would say, or some men would say, well, women can do just as bad as men. And I'm like, well, let them. You know, give women the chance to run all of society, and let's see where that takes us. I'm ready for it. Let's give them 200 or 300 years of just doing and calling all the shots. I'm down for that. I am here for all out matriarchy. However women want to call it, whatever branch of feminism, you know, that's like politics, left or right, Republican or Democrat. That's up to y'all to figure out. That's y'all domain. I'm just here to say, as long as women are ruling everything, I'm okay with it. So that's my perspective as far as where I stand in society. Men, we've had our turn. We have fucked shit up. We continue to mess stuff up. Let's let women run everything. And if they mess stuff up too, fine. Then we could all meet again here in 300 years and come to some type of, you know, work something out as equals.
Hey, I'm here for it. Let the women and non-binaries run.
Yes. Yes.
So we do have a question in the chat. I believe this was from Matt. Yes. Among your modern influences, is Amiri Baraka one of them?
He is, but he hasn't been as prominent. Ishmael Reed has probably been the one voice. Ishmael Reed and Hakeem Mahabudi. My sister introduced me to Hakeem's work on my 21st birthday. Karen was a few years older than me. She was a poet, which is why, you know, sibling rivalry. I refuse to call myself a poet, though I've been writing it since like '85. But Karen was a poet. I hated her and all her friends who were poets. So I didn't call myself. It was like 2012 before I broke down and said, okay, I'm a poet. I write poetry.
Thank you.
So, but yeah, she introduced me to Hakeem Mahabudi. And, at that time I was a firebrand in my mind. All, Public Enemy and NWA were my hip hop influences. I wrote some half-assed raps at the time that were countercultural or the fuck the police type of poems. But reading Hakeem and the love poems he wrote for his wife, that stopped me in my tracks. And I'm like, you can be a revolutionary and still have room for love and life and beauty. And so that set me back, and it started me thinking about a whole line of being as far as writing goes. But those things really didn't take fruition until I met Crystal in 2006 or 7. Like, I was writing, love poems and things, but they weren't really weighted in anything. Chris kind of gave gravity, solidified the earth, for the poems I was writing. And I really have to credit her, the way she approaches writing and professionalism, and that she was my, I think Aki's wife's name is Sufisha. Chris is my Sufisha. My world pretty much, revolves around her. So,
You gonna make me cry.
So yeah, Haki, and then Ishmael Reed. It started with his Mumbo Jumbo, which was like my Bible for the longest. His novel, his poem "I'm a Cowboy in a Bowl of Ra" is probably in my top 3 of all poems. That and I try to pay homage to Lucille Clifton. She's also, her and Ishmael are my 2 favorite poets. Her "If I Stand in My Window" is probably right. It's neck and neck with Reed's "I'm a Cowboy in the Boat of Ra," my 2 favorite poems ever. So, but Amiri Baraka, I am a fan of his work. I can't say that I've been greatly influenced. Probably in the last 10 years. So I really didn't read a lot of his work then. I read his work in anthologies. I didn't have any of his collections until the past 10 years. I'm self-taught as a poet. So I'm also anti-academic. So, in my poems, I'm always throwing capital P poetry under the bus. I'm throwing academics under the bus. Sorry for those of y'all out there working that. But I've always been an outsider poet as a result. So, and that's the world I come from. This online community that existed in the early 2000s. All these poetry message boards that used to exist, where you'd have thousands of poets, writing horrible poems, but we were free to do that, and we would encourage each other to be better, however we got to that point. So that's this online community. They were my MFA, my workshop type of environment. None of us really knew what we were doing, so I never got good at craft, although I became good at mastering my own voice. I know what I sounded like. I know who I wanted to sound like, what I wanted to sound like. And I just got good at creating my voice and mastering my voice. And that's what I always tell people. For some reason, when people ask me, when young writers ask me what advice I can give them, I can't tell them, go out and master a sonnet or go out and, you know, get a PhD in writing. I just tell them it all starts with, knowing who you are as a writer and honing that voice, because no one else can sound like any of us. We all have our own unique experiences, that we bring to the writing table. So, just master that voice, and then if you do it well enough, someone will recognize it, and you can be a part of that community.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to take that with me, and I'm going to pass that. Hopefully that conveys in my writing, and I'm going to pass it along to my students. But we are at the 9 o'clock hour, and my laptop is dying, and I don't want it to cut us off. So thank you, Up From Some Dirt. Thank you for sharing your work with us and
Thank you
for
to everyone coming out.
making my entire week. Thank you. Please don't forget to register for the KSPS annual poetry conference. Up From Some Dirt will be reading with the Appalachian Poets as one of the opening events on Saturday, October 28th. So be sure to register. The link is in the chat. Thank y'all, everybody. Thank you, Up From Some Dirt. Good night, y'all.
Thank you.